6 people were killed when tensions rose in Abuja's Julius Baja area on Sunday following a violent battle between members of the El Zakzaki movement, better known as Shiites, and Federal Capital Territory FCT Police Command officers. According to reports, 2 police officers were killed and numerous others were injured by gunfire. Members of the Proscribed Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN, also known as the Shiite organization, allegedly attacked a police roadblock at the Wuse Junction, causing chaos. According to police from the Federal Capital Territory Police Command, the attackers were armed with machetes, knives, and homemade bombs in kerosene-filled bottles. The fight resulted in the damage of police patrol vehicles, 3 of which were set on fire during the heated battle. It was reported that in response, police officers engaged the gang in a heated battle to reclaim control of the scene. Welcome to today's episode of Media Squad, and with me in our studios this afternoon is Patrick Aka. Patrick, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Steven.
Okay, now here we are again. Patrick, let's hit the ground running. So we have this round of clash. Before now, there were clashes between this group and security personnel, and now we are having it again. Why is this happening all the time?
Yeah, thank you very much, Steven, for having me once again. You see, this issue of the clashes between the police, like you rightly observed in your intro, a lot of persons have attributed it basically to this particular one, to 2 things mainly, which is one, failure of intelligence to an extent on one hand, and of course complacency sort of on the part of the various security agents. Failure of intelligence in the sense that they would have realized before now that these Shiites, they have this because what were they doing? It was just their 40th anniversary. They call that in Alba-In procession, which they were having in the FCT. It's a kind of a 40th anniversary celebration of this grandson of a prophet or so, which they celebrate. So that for that procession that they embarked upon, so the security agents would have, the benefit of hindsight, taking proactive steps. They would have preempted these guys, known that these guys are going to do a thing like this, and then they would have tried their best to see that they stop them, from doing this. Stop them because they have been proscribed. What does proscription simply mean? That they are no longer legal. They no longer have that legal. They can no longer boast of the rights, because I have read a statement released by one of their spokespersons that they were out, carrying out one of their constitutional rights. They have the right, of lawful assembly, freedom of worship, freedom of religion, and all of that. But by the fact that they have been proscribed, they've automatically lost those rights. That is one of the reasons, Stephen, just like you asked, why these things are happening. Because the security agents came out to enforce the proscription order. This is basically what the security men came out to do before this clash, came out. And of course, some days ago, these guys started gathering somewhere along the Abuja Kefi Road, and it is expected that the security men would have moved in, or would have known that these guys may move into the city center, because they gather. That's why I raised the issue of complacency. The security men relaxed. They wouldn't have relaxed. They would have kept on watching these guys and not allowing them get right into the city center, which is Wuse 2. So I feel that our security agents should go ahead and they should try as much as possible and be preempting some of these movements. The moment you know that these guys are going to have some of these their celebrations and anniversaries, or they have events to mark, security agents should move in place and ensure that they nip these things in the bud. We cannot continue having these things happening right in our Federal Capital Territory. because of course Abuja is politically the headquarters of Nigeria.
Yes.
So we have a lot of embassies, a lot of diplomats. If Abuja is more like the let me say if that you use Abuja to gauge what is happening in Nigeria. Abuja to an extent, is serving as a mirror.
Yeah.
Of course, the security men will want to come out again to enforce this proscription. And of course, the current IGP has said it before, or rather during the end bad governance protest, that once the policemen or the police officers are unable to deal with the situation, they will be forced to invite all other security agencies, including the military. I'm quoting the IGP, Lukayode Egbetokun verbatim. And of course, in a situation like this again, people continue saying that, the military have no business in handling, internal issues, that it is purely the issues of the police, the DSS, and other issues, civil authority, security apparatus, of which I too agree with that. But in as much as, of course, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Chris Musa did say that the military, will not just sit back and watch, and fold its arms and watch the nation slide into anarchy. So I believe that the military will want to come in if this kind of things continue happening and police appear, unable to handle it. I would not like to see a thing like that.
Now the question is, why were they proscribed, or why was the group proscribed?
Yeah, the group was proscribed basically, if you can remember, when they were having a similar procession like this in Zaria. When the then chief of army staff was retired General Buratai, Tuku Buratai. His convoy was passing, and then there was this clash they had in Zaria. And of course, which resulted in an alleged massacre of their members, and the home of their leader in Zaria, Sheikh Ibrahim El Zakzaki was raided, and he was arrested, and of course there are charges leveled against him by the federal government, and of course his lawyer Femi Falana and the rest of them, SAN, have been doing their best to see that the man is released. So at some point in time, he said he wasn't feeling fine and all that. He was given a granted bail to go to India, and then of course food and things like that. And the Indian authorities gave him an ultimatum that whatever he wants to do, that he's not going to use their country to do that, or whatever he wants to do, it's not their country that he would use. So they gave him an ultimatum that if within so time you are not going to leave this hotel for the hospital, leave our country. And that was how the man came back, to the country.
Now before
so these are some of the issues that led to the federal government applying.
So before the altercation between the group and the military.
Yes.
They had not been proscribed.
They were still operating, although there were still some of these underground skirmishes between the group and the other factions, the Sunnis and all that, other denominations also of other Muslim denominations.
Yes.
There have been some of these skirmishes that have not really been, that were not pronounced.
Yeah.
But basically, what led to the dimension we are seeing now of these regular clashes, between security agents and the Shiites, and even rights groups like Amnesty International issuing statements and here and there. This is basically that Zaria issue was what led to it being pronounced, and of course the eventual proscription of the group.
Okay, now what is now you mentioned earlier that we have other Islamic
denominations and sects.
Is Shiites among the minority?
Yeah, in Nigeria, yes, they are among the minority, sects, because of course that there's something that seems to be very common among these people, because they are even within the Islamic world globally. They really form a very, very, they are part of the minority.
Okay.
The average Muslim, you hardly find them, although there are countries that they dominate.
I think
like Iran, for example.
Iran,
in fact, Iran is the headquarters of the Shiites.
Yes.
Then of course these groups that make up what the Iranians call the axis of resistance in West Asia, majority of them, if not all of them, are Shiites. Whether you call them the Houthis, whether it is the Hamas in Gaza, and of course whether Hezbollah in Lebanon, and of course some of these other pockets of militia groups in Syria, Iraq, most of them are Shiites. So you can see that there's one thing common with them: this issue of being very, very aggressive, being very violent, very militant, and all that. So I think we just need to be very, very careful to see that these guys, some of their, these people that sympathize with them outside the shores of this country, don't infiltrate our country and then see how they can create another security issue for us again. Because when we're looking at this issue, I was telling some of my friends earlier this morning that we have to be very, very careful that the Boko Haram we are dealing with now, it started like this, gradually, and then it became something that it became a very, very serious issue of a global dimension, to the point of the United States and the United Nations and some of these advanced countries recognizing them as pronouncing them as terrorist groups. This is how some of these things start. So the Nigerian government must do all it can to ensure that it manages it properly, to ensure that it doesn't get to that level.
What should we do, or what can we do to prevent this from happening again?
The basic thing now that we should do is, like I said earlier, our law enforcement agents, that sense of complacency that has stepped in, should be done away with. Law enforcement agents should be on a lookout. Anywhere they sense them, they find them, they are gathering. We are not saying that they should be attacked or they should be a kind of a confrontation, but they should be watched closely to ensure that they don't gather in their numbers to the point that, and then of course, like in your intro you did talk about them being armed with clubs, with knives, and, daggers, and then locally made bombs and things like that. And of course that is another thing again that the security agent, particularly the DSS, should do. We're talking about solutions now and trying to see that this thing doesn't happen again. The DSS should find out where are they getting these things from. Those locally made bombs, they should look for a way of busting wherever those that thing is being produced, because that thing is not something that that just happened from or came from nowhere. There must be a location where they are assembling it, where they are producing it, no matter how local the place may be, or no matter how local the process may be. The DSS must locate that place and find out those people who are behind them and ensure that all of these people are brought to book. You know, and of course, like I said earlier, intelligence is very, very, very important. And of course, if at all those who are behind these things should be arrested and brought to book. Because like we always say, there must be a place for deterrence. When people commit crime and they get away with it, the tendency of them committing that crime next time is also
very
there.
high,
And there's also a very high tendency of some other persons again, you know, taking to criminality. Okay, this man has done this thing and has gotten away with it, then why not I too can engage in it, and if I engage in it, I think I can as well get away with it. You know, so it's you know, when people get away with crime, criminality is being incentivized
and they are
emboldened the more. You know, so we must try as much as possible to increase the risk of engaging in criminality and reduce the benefits. That will go a long way in deterring people from engaging in criminality.
Alright, moving forward, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetukun, stated Sunday that a known kidnap kingpin was slain and 2 abductors were apprehended during an operation to rescue 20 medical students in Benue State. Recall that on August 15th, students from the University of Maiduguri and the University of Jos were kidnapped while heading to Enugu for the Federation of Catholic Medical and Dental Students Annual Conference. Their kidnapping sparked widespread outrage, prompting the IG to authorize the deployment of tactical operatives and equipment, including helicopters, drones, and tactical vehicles, to secure the students' rapid rescue. Speaking while handing over the students to their vice chancellors, Egbetukun stated that the accused individuals were in custody. Egbetukun further stated that the actions of other security agencies and local vigilantes were critical in this rescue of the students and other casualties. He also said, contrary to speculations, the students were rescued without paying any ransom. Patrick, this is very this is commendable. In fact, for me, this is on a cheering note. So now, what was the feeling of the moment the news broke out? At least for you, the students have been rescued. How did you feel when you heard that story?
Yes, that is it's quite cheering. It's a good one. We all commend the Nigerian police for, of course, through the support of the Office of the National Security Advisor, Malam Nuhu Ribadu, with all the support, the cooperation he gave, you know, the marching orders according to the IGP that the president, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, gave the National Security Order, National Security Advisor, and the IGP the order to produce those students who were kidnapped, those medical students, you know. So, and they've done exactly what the president has asked them to do, and so we must commend them for that. And another cheering part of it is that no ransom was paid, because even some of the family members who were interviewed said that they were already looking for, because what the kidnapper demanded was 50 million. So they were already looking for ways. They were already raising that amount to go and pay for ransom before the police announced that they have successfully rescued them unhurt. So the fact that ransom was not paid and some persons were neutralized is a welcome development. But it should not just stop there, because of course I'm happy again to hear that some of the persons that were arrested are also assisting the police. They are cooperating with the police to see that the others are also arrested and brought to book. You know, all of these things are quite cheering. But we, beyond all of these things, we shouldn't bask in the euphoria or over celebrate this feat. Yes, it is worth celebrating. It is something to celebrate, but we shouldn't get carried away. Why do I say we shouldn't get carried away? Is that there's this popular saying that prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
Of course, then the vice chancellor of the various universities, that's University of Maiduguri and University of Jos, are saying that already they have an arrangement in place to see how they can attend to these guys to address the emotional and other trauma they must have gone through for being in captivity for about 8 days or so. You know, so all of these things are more of curative in nature. What we will want to see is preventive measures being put in place. Why should a thing like this even happen in the first place? What are our law enforcement agents doing? That should be where the focus should be. We shouldn't say, okay, good, now the police will clap for them and then stop them. No. Good. Egbetokum, Nuri Badu, you have done a very good job. Thumbs up. Well done. We commend you. But what we want to see
Tell us, what do you feel about this particular thing that happened as far as security personnel is concerned? What do you have to say about that?
What I can say about our security personnel concerning this particular incident is that this incident goes a long way to tell of the capacity of the Nigerian police, that if really with the right equipment, with the right commitment, because you could see what was deployed into this. You could see the sense of urgency. You could see the seriousness, you know, the commitment on the part of the police to get this thing done, and you could see that it was done. You know, in fact, some other persons were even aside the medical student, there are some other persons that were not even part of the student that were also rescued along with the students. You see, so what this tells us is that our security, we have no reason to be having this kind of insecurity that we have in this country. With the right commitment and then with the right seriousness being given to, you know, if we attend to this thing, give it the attention it deserves, we strongly believe that some of this insecurity will be brought to its barest minimum.
Do you think the president's body language actually hastened this? Because they actually said they should produce the student. I'll give you an example. When we had General Babangida as the head of state, then we had Kumasi as the IGP. Then we had Anini terrorizing the southwest, western Nigeria, and all that. And we were told that when they attended their executive meetings, IBB told Kumasi that we have two presidents in Nigeria, he himself and Anini, that he wants Anini produced in 2 weeks. If not, he is going to lose his job. And in less than 2 weeks, Anini was produced. So now, we've been having insecurity, issues of security in this country for a long time. And It's as if we don't even know how to solve them. It's as if our security apparatus or our personnel, they are handicapped. And you should know that in this country, as far as Nigeria is concerned, the best trained person as far as security is concerned is the army. But yet, it seems we are not making any headway. But when presidents or heads of state make a pronouncement concerning a particular thing, results show. So, do you think the body language of the president actually made this happen?
Of course, Stephen. If I tell you that the body language of the president or the marching orders he gave,
yes,
made a difference, I'm just stating the obvious. Because
why should it be so?
You and I know very, very
yes.
well that anywhere things work, there must be this fear that heads will roll,
yeah, if
things don't work. Of course, when the president comes out and gives an order, automatically whoever is in charge of that agency knows that this is not a joking matter. The game is up. So whatever they may be doing,
yeah,
they will sit up, knowing fully well that the heads will roll. The IG knows that his job is on the line.
Yeah.
If he does not carry out that order, and that has been one of the things that this is one of the things that has been lacking under the Buhari's government. This, from my own point of view,
yeah,
I can remember perfectly well when the Inspector General of Police came to, after the killing of about over 70 persons on the night of January 1st, 2018.
Yes.
Here in Benue. The president came to Benue State here after some months and said that the killings continued because the Inspector General of Police disobeyed him. Just imagine what a commander of chief is saying, that his own appointee disobeyed him. He accepted it, said it openly,
and there was nothing he could do,
and nothing happened. And that man remained in office. In fact, if not for public outcry, the man's tenure would have even been extended.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things that led to insecurity to have festered the way, and then to take the various dimensions for it to degenerate to the level, in fact, to the level we have it today,
yeah,
under the Buhari presidency, because people who were manning these agencies, who were in charge of security, were comfortable.
Yeah.
There was nothing to show for it, for all the resources being put in place, and they were still holding their positions, and nothing happened. In fact, so many of them were due for retirement. They were even given, their tenures were even extended.
Yeah.
So why do you think those ones will end insecurity? Definitely they will not. But when the president comes out, I can remember perfectly well that incident you gave, where IBB saw his Inspector General of Police and he asked him, where is Anini? Where is Anini? I want to see him. Get me Anini. That was the order IBB gave his IGP.
Yeah.
And of course, what happened? The IGP got him Anini.
Yes, was arrested.
So that, to a very large extent, the body language of the president or the marching orders he gave. And this is how we want these things to be.
Yeah.
Let this be, if this will serve as the turning point, fine. Where if there is any case of insecurity anywhere, anybody arrested, because if you had read the papers this morning, particularly Daily Asset, it said about 150 people were kidnapped in Sokoto State.
Yeah, I saw it.
I think over the weekend also.
Yeah.
Very good, 150 people kidnapped. In fact, we were joking this morning earlier when they used the word seized, that 150 persons seized, and then we asked that, have human beings now become commodities that you seize? That is the language that people used, but that was on a lighter note. But these things are not things that people should really laugh at, because it shouldn't be happening. 150 people in a state where not too long ago a traditional ruler was kidnapped and even killed.
Yeah.
After about 2 weeks or so, in the custody of these bandits, the traditional ruler was killed, and all that. So these are things that should come to an end. It should, like, in fact, you even asked the question talking about why must we wait for the president or so, to give orders.
Because
like
already
that.
been given a job description.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because the thing is that these issues are issues that I think a lot of times I do look at these things as legacies of the military, where we wait for orders. This command and control structure that the military brought into governance, where things don't really happen until when they look at the body language of the CNC. As soon as the CNC says this thing should be, then that thing will be done. As soon as the CNC, they look at the body language, oh, the CNC is not favorably disposed to this, nothing is being done. It shouldn't be so. We should have strong institutions.
Yes.
Even if, because the job description is very clear, that the Inspector General, that the police should take care of anything that looks like insecurity on the land, regardless of the interest of the president, whether the president says move or not. Once they say an issue, the security men should move with or without the knowledge or order or body language of the president or the governor, as it were, at the state level and all that. We need to get to that level where institutions will be strong enough to deal with situations regardless of who is in power.
You raised a very important matter just now. 150 people were kidnapped in Sokoto state. Sometimes when you hear this number, you begin to wonder, was it like that we didn't have any kind of resistance, no security roadblocks, checkpoints, nothing like that? Were they fetched from their villages, or were they ferried in a bus? Maybe two buses were moving and they just came, packed everybody and entered it. We need to be asking these questions, because I feel some of these things, like I was saying earlier this morning, is beginning to look as if we have people operating from the inside. People that, I'll give you a scenario. The chief, the chief you mentioned earlier that was kidnapped and was killed. I was telling somebody that sometimes it looks as if we have people that have actually planned this thing from within, and just rented or hired these bandits to carry out their nefarious activity. So I was just saying it like 2 days ago, and this morning, yesterday night, I read that the son, because he was kidnapped with his father, the man was kidnapped with his son. The son said the bandit told them that a member of the House of Assembly of the state actually paid them and armed them to do that kidnapping. So you see, so there's always an answer. Of course, the man denied it. He's still denying it. We're not saying he did it, but these are possibilities. And I think this is where intelligence that you mentioned earlier comes into play. So now the question has been for me, how were they ferried? How did it happen that 150? Are you rustling maybe a head of cattle? These are questions we should be asking our security people. Were they not checkpoints when these people were moving? We should be asking this question so that it doesn't look as if our security people are also part of what is happening.
Stephen, you see, if you look at I think one of the papers again this morning, it carried something where the Director General of World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, was giving a lecture, and in that lecture she said something that Nigerian politicians are behind, or rather are making things worse, making this insecurity worse. So when you put what she just said side by side with this allegation of the son of that chief, the traditional ruler, alleging that a state assembly member, is behind whatever must have happened, I think that seemed to make sense to an extent. But then all of these things still exist.